The Legend of Jigong Chapter 35.
Jigong.
And he is currently locked in a deadly battle of wits, magic, and ideology with an evil Taoist named Liang.
And when I say evil, I mean like actively stealing the souls of innocent people to place fatal curses on them.
Right, this isn't just a minor disagreement, it's life or death. But to really grasp the weight of this narrative, you have to look past the surface-level magic.
Which is awesome, by the way.
Oh, the magic is incredibly cool. But the text operates as a masterclass in psychological warfare. It shows how to dismantle an opponent's ego, honestly.
Yeah, and it explores that dangerous gap between passive belief and proactive action. Plus, it demonstrates how dry, mundane humor can be weaponized.
Weaponized as a tactical tool to utterly break someone's spirit.
It's brutal.
It is. So, I want to start by looking at a surprisingly quiet moment that perfectly illustrates those two vastly different approaches to dealing with evil.
The scene in the study, right.
Exactly. We begin in Yunnan town, right in the study of a wealthy man named Liang. Now, Liang has had a terrible day.
To put it mildly.
Yeah. This evil Taoist, Zhang had basically invaded his home, caused havoc, and fled. Liang tried to chase him down with his men, but, well, he couldn't catch him.
And crucially, Liang also couldn't find the monk Jigong, who had been helping him.
Right. So Liang comes to this seemingly logical conclusion that the monk is dead. Murdered by the Taoist.
Which, is a perfectly rational deduction for an ordinary person to make in this specific universe. The Taoist has demonstrated terrifying, lethal power.
Yeah, he's throwing curses around. Exactly. So from Liang's perspective, an eccentric, unkempt monk wouldn't stand a chance.
But then Liang walks back into his own study, probably expecting to mourn, and finds the monk, Jigong, just casually sitting there.
Just sitting there drinking wine.
Yeah. There isn't a scratch on him. Liang is overjoyed, of course. He tells the monk that the Taoist claimed to have captured his soul.
And the monk doesn't even blink.
Not even a flinch. He just casually confirms it. He's like, yeah, he definitely stole my soul, and he stole your son's soul too. I'm going to go out tonight and find him to get them back.
Now, pay very close attention to Liang Yuanwai's response here. This introduces the core philosophical conflict of the whole text.
Right, because Liang advises the monk against going.
He does. He argues that the Taoist is a man of the cloth, a spiritual practitioner, and because he is committing these evil acts, heaven will eventually take notice.
Ah, the classic wait for karma defense.
Precisely. Liang says that the Taoist will inevitably suffer karmic retribution from the cosmos. Therefore, the holy monk shouldn't lower himself to engage in a petty fight.
He essentially says, just let him go. Heaven will sort it out.
Yeah.
I have to say, this mindset is so incredibly frustrating to me.
Oh, it's infuriating.
It's like seeing a raging grease fire spreading across your kitchen cabinets and saying, well, the water cycle is a natural law of the universe.
It's going to rain eventually.
Exactly. It's going to rain eventually, so I'll just sit here and let nature handle it. No need to grab the fire extinguisher and lower myself to the level of the fire. It's just an absurd abdication of responsibility.
It is, but you have to realize it's an abdication disguised as deep spiritual wisdom. You have to look at the power dynamics at play here.
Okay, break that down for us. What do you mean by the power dynamics?
Well, Liang Yuanwai is wealthy. He is comfortable, well-fed, and currently sitting safely in his private study surrounded by servants.
Right, he's insulated.
Completely insulated. For someone in his position, the concept of karmic retribution from heaven is a highly convenient philosophy.
Oh, I see. Because it requires absolutely no risk on his part.
Exactly. No risk, no danger, no physical effort. He can outsource justice to the cosmos while maintaining a facade of spiritual superiority.
He gets to keep his hands clean while technically being on the right side of morality.
Yep. But the monk's response is so telling here.
It's hilarious. When he decides to leave anyway, he doesn't engage in a massive theological debate with Liang.
He really doesn't have the time.
He just says, oh, I'm just going to step outside to relieve myself. He literally uses a bathroom break as his excuse to sneak out. Is he actively mocking Liang's philosophy here?
Oh, he is entirely dismissing it. The monk understands a fundamental truth that Liang is insulated from the universe, doesn't operate on a delayed billing system when innocent lives are actively being destroyed in the present moment.
Right. The souls of the monk and Liang's son, Liang Xuan, are in immediate peril.
If the monk sits there and debates the finer points of karmic predestination with Liang, the boy dies. It's that simple.
The intellectual debate is a luxury they just cannot afford right now.
Precisely. By sidestepping the argument and pretending to go to the bathroom, The monk leaves Liang sitting in his comfortable illusion of safety.
The text is making a really definitive value judgment here, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Mm.
True morality, true spiritual fortitude in this universe requires getting your hands dirty. It requires confronting the fire in the kitchen.
Grab the fire extinguisher.
Exactly. The monk's famous madness, or his unkempt eccentricity, is repeatedly shown to be a cover for a relentless, gritty pragmatism. He doesn't care about looking holy. He cares about stopping the harm.
And that gritty pragmatism sets him on a direct collision course with the Taoist, which moves us instantly from the misguided safety of that study to a confrontation that completely subverts how we expect magical battles to play out.
It totally strips away all the expected theatrics of a magical duel.
Yeah, it replaces them with pure psychological warfare. So, let's set the stage for you. The scene shifts to Zhangyun Temple on Wuxian Mountain.
A classic ominous setting.
Definitely. The evil Taoist, Zhang Miaoxing, is standing at his altar, right in the middle of a dark, complex ritual. He is actively trying to summon and capture the monk's soul through dark magic.
He's deep in concentration, chanting and manipulating these dark energies.
Right, and while he's doing that, the physical body of the monk simply strolls right through the front door and walks up to the altar.
The dramatic irony there is incredibly thick.
It's so good. The Taoist is straining to capture the metaphysical essence of the monk from afar, completely unaware that the physical man has just bypassed all his defenses.
Now, if you are the evil Taoist in this situation, the logical response should be sheer terror.
Oh, absolutely, you'd be panicking.
Because you are performing a highly secretive, incredibly difficult, soul-stealing ritual. The fact that your target can just casually interrupt you in the physical world means your magic isn't working.
And it means your opponent's power must be overwhelmingly vast.
Exactly. The text itself points this out, noting that a truly wise practitioner would have immediately realized they were totally outmatched.
Any rational combatant would immediately reassess the threat level. They would fall back, defend, or at least attempt to negotiate, recognizing they're dealing with an apex predator in this magical ecosystem.
But the Taoist is utterly blinded by his own arrogance.
Yeah, instead of recognizing the threat, he just gets furious. He draws a sword, points it at the monk, and makes this insane demand.
He demands that the monk kneel down, kowtow to him, and call him Grandmaster 3 times if he wants a chance to live.
He literally wants the monk to recognize his superiority and bow to him, despite the monk clearly having the upper hand.
This reaction diagnoses the specific nature of the Taoist's evil perfectly.
How so?
Well, his primary weakness isn't a lack of magical ability. He is actually quite powerful. His fatal flaw is a fragile, overinflated ego. He is obsessed with hierarchy, with titles, with the external theatrics of dominance. He demands the monk call him Grandmaster because his internal sense of power is entirely dependent on external validation.
That makes so much sense. And the monk's response to this demand is just incredible.
It's my favorite part of the story.
The monk doesn't summon a lightning bolt to strike him down. He doesn't recite a counter curse to match the Taoist's magical energy.
No, he goes for something much more direct.
He just looks at him, calls him an evil Taoist, lists the crimes he's committing against innocent people, and then walks right up and slaps him across the face.
An open-handed physical slap.
Yes. Okay, let's unpack this. You have these two titans of magic, capable of manipulating the fabric of reality, standing in a temple crackling with dark energy.
And the opening move is a literal slap in the face.
It's so jarringly mundane. It feels like someone trying to hack your computer with a highly sophisticated, multi-layered virus, and you respond by simply walking over and unplugging their monitor from the wall.
That is a perfect analogy.
You aren't engaging with their complex code, you're just rejecting their entire operating system. What is the psychological mechanism behind choosing a slap here?
Well, the slap is a calculated precision strike against the Taoist's psychological armor. Specifically, it targets his concept of face or social dignity.
Okay, break that down for us.
In the hierarchy of martial and magical combat, the weapon you choose denotes the respect you have for your opponent.
Right, like drawing a legendary sword.
Exactly. Yeah. You use a legendary sword against a respected enemy. You use high-level elemental magic against a worthy, terrifying adversary.
Because it acknowledges they're dangerous enough to require that level of force.
Exactly. But you use a slap to discipline a petulant, misbehaving child or a subordinate who has spoken out of turn.
Oh, wow. So it's incredibly demeaning.
The slap violently rejects the reality the Taoist is trying to construct. The Taoist says, "I am a terrifying grandmaster, bow to my supreme power."
And the monk slap replies, "You are an undisciplined child playing with matches, and I am not taking you seriously."
Yes, it shatters the grand, mystical self-image the Taoist relies on completely.
And the text describes the result of that shattered image so vividly. It says the slap causes fire in his face, anger rushing up, his ego practically detonates.
That detonation is the monk's true objective. The humiliation triggers an immediate, unthinking rage in the Taoist.
And rage is bad in a fight.
Very bad. Whether you are fighting with fists, swords, or magic, rage makes you sloppy. It narrows your focus and makes you predictable.
So the Taoist instantly abandons his complex, soul-stealing ritual.
He completely forgets his grand posturing. He just grabs his sword and starts wildly hacking at the monk.
The monk has successfully manipulated a highly disciplined dark magician into fighting like an angry drunk in a tavern.
It's masterful. It forces the Taoist to escalate. He realizes his wild sword swinging is useless because the monk is just casually dodging and weaving around him, making him look even more foolish.
So the desperate Taoist digs into his arsenal of magical artifacts, initiating the actual magical duel.
And this duel serves as a profound study in contrasts, specifically highlighting the mechanics of how different types of power operate in this universe.
Let's look at the first magical weapon the Taoist deploys. He steps back, reaches into a pouch, and pulls out an artifact called the Hunyuan Ru Yi Stone.
A classic magical artifact.
He casts the spell, throws it into the air, and it emits this terrifying rushing sound. The text describes this stone as having the ability to grow to the size of several zang.
Which is tens of feet across. It's massive.
Huge. Or it can shrink to the size of an egg. Its entire purpose is to drop from the sky and completely smash an opponent's skull into paste.
It's essentially a magically guided, localized meteor strike.
Yeah, a weapon of absolute, overwhelming brute force, designed to inspire paralyzing terror in the moments before it obliterates the target.
Which perfectly reflects the Taoist's need for physical dominance.
So this massive, lethal stone is hurtling down toward the monk's head. And what does the monk do? He doesn't summon a massive kinetic shield.
He doesn't even dive out of the way.
No, he literally just points a single finger at the falling rock and recites a 6-syllable mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Shilin.
And the massive stone instantly shrinks down, spins harmlessly in the air, and drops neatly into the monk's sleeve.
It's so effortless. The contrast in effort is the key to understanding the magic system here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The Taoist is exerting maximum energy, fueled by rage and malice, to hurl this destructive force.
Sweating and screaming.
While the monk, remaining perfectly still, uses one of the most foundational mantras in Mahayana Buddhism. Om Mani Padme Hum is often translated as, "The jewel is in the lotus."
And what does that mean in this context?
It is fundamentally a mantra of compassion, purification, and the transformation of impure body, speech, and mind into the pure exaltation of a Buddha.
So how exactly does a mantra of compassion stop a giant rock? It sounds counterintuitive.
It does, but you have to understand that in this framework, the giant rock is not just physical matter, it is a manifestation of the Taoist's impure, murderous intent.
Oh, it is crystallized malice.
Exactly. By reciting a mantra of pure compassion, the monk isn't physically wrestling the rock. He is purifying the energetic intent behind it.
He strips away the Taoist malice.
Yes, which is the only thing giving the stone its massive size and destructive momentum. Once the malice is purified, the stone reverts to its true, harmless form, a tiny pebble.
He neutralizes a weapon of mass destruction by simply removing the hatred that fuels it. That is staggering.
And naturally, this infuriates the Taoist to a level of almost biological failure.
Oh yeah, the text introduces a fascinating concept here. It says the Taoist's 3 corpse gods jumped violently and smoke came out of his 7 orifices.
Such a vivid image.
It is, but what exactly are the 3 corpse gods? I mean, it sounds terrifying.
This is a brilliant inclusion of deep Taoist internal alchemy in the text. In certain Taoist traditions, the 3 corpses, or 3 worms, are malevolent spiritual entities that reside within the human body from birth.
Wait, everyone has them?
According to the tradition, yes. They are named Pengju, who lives in the head, Pengji, who lives in the chest, and Pengjiao, who lives in the abdomen.
And what do they do?
Their primary goal is to hasten the host's death so they can be freed from the body. They feed on the host's negative emotions, sins, and earthly desires.
So they are essentially spiritual parasites that thrive on bad behavior.
Exactly. And on certain nights, they're believed to leave the body and report the host's sins to the Heavenly Emperor, shortening the host's lifespan as punishment.
Wow.
So when the text says his 3 corpse gods jumped violently, it means the Taoists' rage and hatred have reached such a toxic, concentrated level that these internal parasites are practically throwing a party.
His internal spiritual ecosystem is collapsing from his own malice.
Yes. And the 7 orifices, the eyes, ears, nostrils, and mouth emitting smoke, is a visceral metaphor for his internal energy, his quiet, literally combusting from the friction of his uncontainable anger.
His anger is quite literally burning him up from the inside out before any actual fire even starts.
It's a perfect physical manifestation of his mental state.
So, in this state of complete internal combustion, the Taoist tries one more time. He stands in the north, waves his sword, chants a spell, pinches his fingers, and summons a strange, terrifying wind from the ground.
The illusion spell.
Right. Out of this wind materializes a giant, ferocious, magical tiger. The text describes it with this poetic, almost absurd detail. A head big and round, a tail small, terrifying enough to make woodcutters lose their souls.
It is designed to be the ultimate nightmare creature, a manifestation of primal, instinctual fear.
And the monk's reaction to this ultimate nightmare is to just burst out laughing.
It's the ultimate disrespect.
He looks at the tiger and says, "You evil creature, you dare use this kind of magic to show off in front of me? This is truly like selling water by the river."
It's a great insult.
It really is. When he says selling water by the river, it feels like he's calling out the absolute redundancy of the act. Is he saying the Taoist is trying to use illusions against a being who has transcended them?
You've hit the nail on the head. The idiom Jiangdia Mai Shui, selling water by the river, points out the foolishness of offering someone something they already possess in infinite abundance.
Or, in this case, trying to outmaster the master.
Right. The monk is deeply enlightened. His entire spiritual existence is predicated on seeing through the illusions of the material world.
So the Taoist, trying to use a magical illusion to frighten a being who sees the fundamental emptiness of all phenomena, is profoundly ridiculous.
It's like trying to explain a magic trick to the guy who invented it while he's actively watching you perform it badly.
I love that. Exactly. And the monk backs up his insult by demonstrating the mechanics of this magic. Just like with the stone, he points a finger at the terrifying beast.
He doesn't wrestle the tiger.
He simply forces it to reveal its true nature, and instantly the monster is reduced to a flimsy paper tiger. Literally, a piece of paper cut into the shape of a tiger.
The metaphor becomes reality right before our eyes.
How does clear perception physically disarm the magic, though?
Well, in this magical framework, dark illusions require fuel to maintain their form and solidity.
And that fuel is the victim's fear.
Exactly. The Taoist casts the spell, creating the suggestion of a tiger. If the victim feels terror, their own panicked ki, their own life energy, feeds the illusion.
Oh, giving it weight and sharp claws.
Yes, giving it the ability to kill. The illusion weaponizes the victim's own mind against them.
So if you aren't afraid, the magic starves.
Precisely. Because the monk possesses clear perception, he feels zero fear. He looks at the terrifying projection and sees only the paper it was cut from.
He denies the illusion it needs to materialize.
He cuts off the fuel supply. The text is teaching a profound lesson here, really. Most terrifying things, when faced with absolute calm clarity, have no real substance.
They're just paper tigers, empowered only by our own anxieties.
The monk's calmness is his ultimate superpower.
That is an incredibly empowering concept for you listening right now. Fear is the only thing giving the monster teeth.
But the Taoist, having his magic repeatedly humiliated and his internal energy literally combusting from his own 3 corpses, decides to bring out his ultimate final weapon.
He is entirely desperate, which sets up the climax of the battle.
And this climax requires a completely different, highly dangerous strategy from the monk.
The Taoist reaches into his pouch and pulls out the Kunjian Sheng, the immortal binding rope.
A very famous type of artifact in these stories.
And I want to point out the staggering hypocrisy of the villain in this moment. The Taoist is holding this legendary magical rope, and he actually says to the monk, "I didn't want to kill you. You brought this on yourself. You kept asking for death, so don't blame me."
The audacity is astounding.
He says this right after trying to smash the monk's skull with a meteor and feed him to a magical tiger.
It is textbook abuser psychology, elevated to a cosmic scale. The villain attempts to shift the moral culpability for his own lethal actions entirely onto the victim.
"Look what you made me do."
Exactly. It's a desperate, final attempt to protect his fragile ego and justify his malice to himself.
Uh,
He wants to believe he is the aggrieved party.
I'm the victim here. You forced my hand by not dying when I told you to. It's sickening.
So this rope is supposedly his most powerful artifact.
The text states that no matter what kind of magical being you are, if this rope touches you, it binds you inescapably and forces you into your true, vulnerable form. He throws the rope into the air, it glows with golden light, and flies straight at the monk.
Now, based on the pattern established so far with the stone and the tiger, you, the listener, and the Taoist would all expect the monk to just point his finger again.
Right, shrink the rope or turn it into a harmless piece of string. We fully expect another effortless deflection.
But here, the narrative shifts drastically.
It really does.
Yeah.
Instead of brushing the attack aside, the monk suddenly panics. He starts screaming in terror, "Save me! This is terrible! They're going to tie up the monk."
And the glowing rope wraps around him in 3 tight loops.
He physically falls over, seemingly helpless and defeated.
This is a masterstroke of theatrical deception, but it carries a massive risk.
Because the Taoist completely buys it. His ego, so desperate for a win, accepts the illusion without question.
He starts laughing maniacally, taunting the monk. "I thought you had great magical powers. You're just an ignorant fool. Now I'm going to end your life."
He rushes forward, raises his sword high, and brings it down with all his strength right onto the monk's neck.
The intent to murder is now absolute, undeniable,
Yeah.
and physically manifested.
But when the sword hits, there's no blood. It doesn't cut flesh. It just leaves a white, chalky mark.
The Taoist is so confused.
He hacks again and again, but nothing happens. Suddenly, the reality of the situation snaps into focus for him. He looks down, and the magical immortal binding rope is wrapped tightly around a solid stone incense burner.
He's been hacking at stone this whole time.
And the monk is casually standing right behind him, waving a hand to get his attention.
It is the ultimate rug pull.
It really is.
But the critical question we must explore is why the monk faked his defeat. Why not just deflect the rope like he did the other weapons?
Yeah, why play this incredibly dangerous game of proximity? He lets the Daoist get within striking distance with a deadly weapon. Is he just messing with him, or is there a deeper mechanical reason for the fake-out?
It is entirely mechanical, related to the physics of cosmic justice in this universe.
Explain that.
Well, the monk wasn't just dodging an attack. He was actively creating a moral vacuum for the Taoist to fill. By pretending to be completely helpless, bound, and terrified on the ground, the monk removed any possible claim of self-defense or combat equivalence.
Oh, I see.
He allowed the Taoist to fully, undeniably commit to the act of cold-blooded murder.
He let the Taoist prove that his evil wasn't just a heat-of-the-moment mistake during a duel. It was his core nature.
Exactly. The monk's theatrical decoy forced the Taoist to cross a moral event horizon. By swinging that sword with the absolute intent to decapitate a helpless man, the Taoist sealed his own karmic fate.
He exhausted any microscopic possibility of redemption or mercy.
The monk needed the Taoist to pull the metaphysical trigger himself.
Wow. The fake-out was a cosmic trap to ensure the Taoist's spiritual guilt was absolute. And this leads to the final, fatal sequence.
The climax.
The Taoist realizes he's been completely fooled. He screams, "I swear I cannot coexist with you." He has lost his mind entirely.
He is unhinged.
He reaches into that same stone incense burner, pulls out a burning stick of incense, and throws it onto a pile of dry straw next to the main hall of the temple.
He chants a spell, intending to create a magical inferno.
Right, he's trying to use what the text calls zenhuo, or true fire, to burn the monk alive.
This is his final, most destructive act, born of total despair and hatred.
He pushes this massive fireball right at the monk. The monk, calm as ever, uses that same 6-syllable mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum.
But this time, he doesn't shrink the fire.
No. He points his finger, and the giant fireball instantly reverses direction. It rolls right back over the Taoist. His hair catches fire, his beard catches fire, his robes catch fire.
He screams and runs blindly into the main hall of the temple.
And here, the text uses a very specific, philosophically dense phrase that resolves the entire first act of our discussion.
Yes, the text says, "Mortal fire connects to heavenly fire," or "Fan huo gu tian hu."
Let's unpack that phrase, because it feels like the key to understanding how karma actually functions in this world.
It is the defining rule of their reality. Remember the debate with Liang Yuanwei in the study?
Yeah, Liang believed karma was a passive force, a separate entity that heaven would eventually dispense on its own timeline, like waiting for rain.
The let the universe handle it approach. But this phrase, "mortal fire connects to heavenly fire," proves something vastly different.
How so?
The mortal fire is the literal physical fire the Taoist started in the straw. But metaphorically, it represents the fire of his own ego, his hatred, his malice, and his active intent to murder.
And the heavenly fire.
The heavenly fire represents the cosmic retribution, the karmic consequence.
So the mortal fire hooks or physically connects to the heavenly fire.
Yes. Karma in this text is not a judge sitting on a cloud throwing lightning bolts. It is a circuit that you close yourself.
That's a great way to put it.
The Taoist's own internal malice, which he physically manifested by lighting that fire to kill an innocent, acted as the beacon. It was the conduit that pulled down the heavenly fire of his own destruction.
The cosmic retribution was directly hooked into his own actions.
Exactly. The universe didn't randomly decide to punish him at that moment. He actively built and activated the mechanism of his own demise.
He built his own electric chair and flipped the switch himself, and the destruction is total. The fire spreads from his body to the main hall. Flames shoot into the sky. The text describes fire snakes and fire doves, these terrifying magical manifestations of the blaze running wild.
That's apocalyptic.
The entire temple complex catches fire, and the villain, Zhang Miaoxing, is trapped inside and reduced to ash.
The cycle is complete. The active, unrepentant pursuit of evil has entirely consumed itself.
But with the villain vanquished, the narrative does something I found truly surprising. It doesn't pause for a victory lap.
No, there's no celebration.
The monk doesn't sigh in relief. He immediately switches gears, showing a ruthless, clinical efficiency that heavily contrasts with his playful demeanor during the fight.
His mission parameters snap back into primary focus the second the threat is neutralized.
Exactly. The temple is a blazing inferno around him. Beams are falling. Magic fire is everywhere. Does he try to put out the fire to save the historic architecture?
No, he entirely ignores the inferno.
He walks straight over to the altar, finds the specific straw doll the Taoist was using to curse Liang Shiyuan, pulls out the 7 magical needles piercing it, and safely stores the boy's soul in his sleeve.
He retrieves the objective.
Right, but there is a detail here that feels startlingly cold.
The part about Lu Miaotong.
Yes. The text explicitly states that as the monk left, he, quote, didn't care whether Lu Miaotong lived or died.
It's a shocking line.
Now, Lu Miaotong is a minor character, presumably another person caught up in the temple or the Taoist schemes. The monk is a savior, a holy figure, yet he is incredibly laser-focused.
If you aren't his specific mission, he doesn't stop for you.
He just turns around and walks out of the burning building. How do we reconcile that coldness with his role as a compassionate holy man?
It is jarring, especially for a figure associated with the mantra of compassion we discussed earlier, but it highlights the difference between sentimental compassion and pragmatic cosmic awareness.
Okay, what's the difference there?
The monk intervened to save the specific souls actively being stolen through dark magic that night. He dealt with the immediate metaphysical threat that he was tied to.
Right.
The fate of Lu Miaotong, or the temple itself, may be subject to different karmic threads, different life paths that the monk recognizes he should not interfere with.
Oh, so it's about not tangling the threads unnecessarily.
Exactly. He is operating like a specialized surgeon. A surgeon removing a specific tumor doesn't stop to fix every scraped knee in the hospital on his way out.
He has a cosmic lane, and he stays in it. He has the soul, he has his victory, and he's heading back down the mountain. But he is not alone. And this introduces a new element that shifts the narrative into a completely different genre.
Yes, the observer in the shadows.
Let's talk about Chen Liang. He is a man who has been secretly hiding in the east room of the temple complex this entire time. He has witnessed everything.
He saw the slap, the illusions, the rope fake-out, and the fiery death of the Taoist.
As the fire spreads to his hiding spot, Chen Liang kicks out a window, escapes the flames, and decides to follow the monk down the mountain.
He initiates a pursuit, believing he has the upper hand of stealth.
The text describes their journey back to Yunlan town in this incredibly cinematic way. It's a tense, nighttime cat-and-mouse game.
It's brilliantly written.
The text lays it out simply. If the monk walks fast, Chen Liang runs fast. If the monk slows down, Chen Liang slows down. They are perfectly synchronized in the darkness.
Chen Liang thinks he's successfully tailing this powerful being, keeping a safe distance, tracking him back to his base of operations.
But we know, given what we've just seen of the monk's awareness, that this is an illusion of control on Chen Liang's part.
A complete illusion.
So what is actually happening mechanically during this chase? Is the monk just letting him follow?
It's far more active than that. What's fascinating here is how the monk utilizes pacing as a form of psychological control.
Really? Just by walking?
Yes, the monk is absolutely aware of Chen Liang. He's deliberately setting the pace to manipulate Chen Liang's nervous system and decision-making.
How does that work?
When the monk walks fast, he forces Chen Liang to exert energy, drawing him out, making him commit physically to the pursuit so he doesn't second-guess himself and turn back.
He makes him invest in the chase.
Yes, and when the monk slows down, he allows Chen Liang to catch his breath, ensuring he doesn't lose the trail or get discouraged.
That's incredibly manipulative.
Walking paces often match breathing and heart rates. By dictating the pace, the monk is subtly hijacking Chen Liang's physical rhythm.
So this perfectly synchronized chase is not Chen Liang tailing the monk at all.
No, it is the monk putting Chen Liang on an invisible psychological leash, reeling him in exactly where he wants him to go.
He is walking him right into a trap, and this beautifully paced, tense chase ends back at Liang Yuanwai's house.
Back to the wealthy man's study.
Once they arrive, the story abruptly shifts from a high-stakes magical wuxia battle and a tense pursuit straight into a witty parlor room comedy.
It's a brilliant tonal shift. It lowers the listener's guard, and more importantly, it lowers the character's guards, setting the stage for the final psychological breakdown.
The scene is set. The monk walks into the house, tells an anxious Liang Yuanwei that he has the soul, and proceeds into the boys' room.
He performed the necessary rites.
And shortly after, Liang Xuan wakes up, completely healed. Liang Yuanwei is ecstatic. His son is alive. The terror is over. He immediately orders a lavish banquet to be set up in the outer room to thank the monk.
It's a time for celebration.
They sit down. They drink several cups of wine. The atmosphere is relaxed, celebratory. And then, out of nowhere, the monk pivots the conversation entirely.
He just changes the subject completely.
He looks at his wealthy host and asks, "Does this house ever get robbed?"
It seems like a complete non sequitur, a random conversational tangent.
But it's incredibly calculated. Liang Yuanwei's response is a masterclass in the arrogance of the privileged class.
It really is.
He says, "No, we don't get robbed here. Good thieves know I'm a good person, so they wouldn't steal from me. And bad thieves, well, they're too unskilled to get past my high walls and into my courtyard."
He believes his wealth is protected by an invisible shield of his own perceived moral goodness, combined with his physical architecture.
He's so naive.
He has absolutely no concept of the realities of the underworld. He thinks he's untouchable.
The monk, clearly amused by this massive blind spot, decides to test him. He says, "Let me test your knowledge of the underworld. I'm going to name a few famous thieves from the Greenwood. Tell me if you know them."
The Greenwood is the classic term for the outlaw subculture in these narratives.
Right. This initiates a hilarious sequence where the monk systematically deconstructs the cool, mystical tropes of outlaw heroes.
This is where humor transforms into a weapon of precision warfare.
The jokes are fantastic because they rely on exposing the mundane truth behind legendary skills.
Yeah.
In wuxia literature, there is a concept called Jigong, or lightness skill, where martial artists can seemingly defy gravity, run across water, or leap over walls.
It's a staple of the genre.
So the monk asks Liang, "Have you heard of Lu Rui, nicknamed Treading Snow Without Traces?" Liang says no, but marvels at the nickname. Treading snow without traces, to walk on snow and leave no footprints. That's incredible lightness skill.
Liang is imagining a mystical ninja, someone who has biologically transcended human limits through chi manipulation.
Right, and the monk deadpans. Yeah, he walks on the snow and leaves no footprints because as he walks, he uses a broom to sweep them away behind him.
It completely deflates the myth. It reduces a superhuman legend to a guy doing chores while he walks.
Liang Yuanwei cracks up laughing, realizing it's a joke. But the monk continues. "Okay, how about Tao Fang, known as stepping on duckweed, crossing water?"
Another classic trope.
Liang is amazed again. Someone who can walk across the surface of a lake without sinking. There are truly rare and capable people in this world.
Again, he buys fully into the romanticized wuxia trope of defying physics.
And the monk delivers the punchline. "Oh, it's not that extraordinary. He can only do it in the winter when the lake is completely frozen solid."
That's hilarious.
Liang laughs and says, "Well, in the winter I can do that too." It completely ruins the mystique. It's like someone bragging that they have the superpower of invisibility, but only when absolutely no one is looking at them.
It destroys the core identity of the outlaw.
It's a very modern, cynical style of anti-humor. It deconstructs the genre it exists within.
But we must remember the context of where and why this conversation is taking place. This isn't just the monk trying to entertain his wealthy host.
No, it's not. And this is the hidden layer that makes this scene a masterpiece of psychological torture. We have to remember Chen Liang, the man who was led by the invisible leash from the burning temple. Where is he right now?
He is currently hiding on the roof of this very house, listening to every single word of this banquet conversation. He thinks he is successfully eavesdropping.
Yes, he's up there in the dark. And here is the brutal kicker. Lu Rui with his broom and Tao Fang on the ice. Those aren't just random names the monk made up for a joke.
No, they aren't.
Those are Chen Liang's actual outlaw friends in the Greenwood subculture.
That fact changes the entire reading of the scene. The monk isn't performing a stand-up routine, he's conducting a surgical strike on Chen Liang's reality.
He is deliberately, systematically mocking Chen Liang's friends, his life's work, and his entire subculture right to his face, while Chen Liang is trapped silently on the roof.
The monk knows exactly where he is.
He is using these mundane dad jokes to completely humiliate the eavesdropping thief. Imagine the psychological impact on Chen Liang in that moment.
It must be devastating and terrifying. Chen Liang views himself as a cool, stealthy outlaw. He has just witnessed this unkempt monk destroy a powerful Taoist grandmaster with god-level magic and burn a mountain temple to the ground.
He knows how dangerous the monk is.
And now, this terrifying godlike entity is sitting comfortably, drinking wine, and casually roasting Chen Liang's closest friends, exposing their closely guarded mystical skills as cheap, embarrassing frauds.
It shatters his entire worldview. The text notes that Chen Liang is shocked. He's thinking, he's a monk. He's supposed to be sequestered in a monastery reading sutras. How does he know the intimate, embarrassing secrets of the Greenwood underworld?
The monk is establishing complete intellectual and informational dominance. The slap shattered the Taoist physical reality. These jokes shatter Chen Liang's social reality.
It's just a total teardown.
The monk is broadcasting a very clear message to the roof. I know exactly who you are, I know your friends, I know your secrets, and I find your entire existence ridiculous. It strips Chen Liang of any sense of agency or mystery.
It's savage. He baited him physically to the house, and now he has baited him emotionally, confusing and humiliating him.
The psychological breakdown is complete.
And the narrative flow dictates that it is time to finally spring the physical trap.
The trap that has been meticulously constructed since the moment they left the temple ruins.
The tone of the scene shifts abruptly again. The jokes stop. The monk tells Liang Yuanwei, "Your son is healed, I must leave tomorrow."
The host is probably disappointed.
Liang, exhibiting standard hospitality, begs him to stay longer so he can repay his kindness, but the monk firmly refuses. Then, the monk calls over one of the household servants, a man named Liang Fu.
The text doesn't tell us exactly what he says, right?
No, it just notes that the monk whispers into his ear, instructing him to do such and such. Liang Fu quickly leaves the room.
This is the moment the tension on the invisible leash finally snaps.
Chen Liang is still on the roof, utterly confused by the jokes, trying to process what the monk is planning with that whisper. Suddenly, the quiet courtyard below him explodes into absolute chaos.
The ambush is sprung.
It is flooded with people. 30 to 40 guards, night watchmen, and hired strongmen, armed with knives, spears, and sticks, pour into the space, completely surrounding the house.
They're all looking up, pointing weapons, and yelling at the top of their lungs to catch the thief on the roof.
The ambush is flawlessly executed. The monk used the time during the jokes not just to mock Chen Liang, but to give the household time to mobilize a medieval SWAT team.
The text notes that Chen Liang is terrified. He's literally scared to jump.
He realizes in a flash that the whisper he just saw was the monk finalizing this massive coordinated ambush specifically designed for him.
He hasn't been stealthily following anyone.
No, he has been escorted to his own capture. He has been completely comprehensively outplayed on every level.
And how does a man whose entire identity is built on being a tough outlaw react when he realizes he's completely powerless?
He tries to play the tough guy. It's the only defense mechanism he has left, however hollow it might be.
It's a desperate move.
He draws his sword, jumps down from the roof into the chaotic courtyard, and tries to act like he's the one in charge of the situation. He yells at the armed guards, "Hey, get out of my way. I'm not here to steal. I'm just borrowing the road. Block me and die. Dodge me and live."
It is pure performative bravado. It's a fragile threat when you are surrounded by 40 armed men and a magical monk who just demonstrated he can bend reality to his will.
It's pathetic, really. And this desperate bravado leads us to the cliffhanger, the final striking image of the excerpt.
The final face-off.
Just as Chen Liang is threatening the guards, trying to maintain this crumbling facade of being a dangerous outlaw, the door to the house opens.
And out comes Jigong.
The monk calmly steps out of the brightly lit room and into the chaotic, weapon-filled courtyard to face him directly.
And the excerpt concludes, not with an action, but with the classic, highly resonant Buddhist proverb.
The text ends with the phrase, "Heroes enter the Three Jewels Temple, Arhats open the Mahayana Gate."
It's a profound way to end this sequence.
Could you break down the symbolism there for us?
The Three Jewels Temple refers to a Buddhist sanctuary, representing the Buddha, the Dharma, the teachings, and the Sangha, the community. It is a place of ultimate truth.
And the Arhats.
Arhats are enlightened beings who have advanced far along the path, like the monk himself. And the Mahayana Gate represents the broader path to salvation and deeper, universal understanding.
So what is the text implying by ending on that proverb as the monk steps out to face Chen Liang?
It implies that this entire ordeal was a brutal, necessary initiation. Chen Liang fancies himself a hero of the Greenwood. But true heroes must eventually confront the absolute truth, the Three Jewels Temple.
The truth behind their illusions.
Yes. The monk, acting as the Arhat, has systematically stripped away all of Chen Liang's illusions, his ego, and his false identity, effectively forcing open the Mahayana Gate for him.
He broke him down so he could rebuild him on a foundation of truth, not outlaw mythology.
That is exactly it.
That is an incredible synthesis when you look at the entirety of this narrative sequence. The scale of the monk's mastery is just staggering.
It is a masterclass in control.